Marjorie Lawrence was once Australia's most famous woman, but today she is barely remembered.
A new documentary tells the story of the opera diva who, for nearly 3 decades, had the world at her feet. It's narrated by another opera great, Dame Kiri Te Kanawa, who joins us now from her home in New Zealand. Dame Kiri, it's so lovely to have you on the program. Welcome to News Breakfast.
Thank you very much. Nice to be here.
And having now watched this documentary, had a sneak peek at it, I myself am wondering why I had never heard of Marjorie Lawrence. What an incredible woman to come from a dairy farm to the concert halls of Paris in the late 1920s. Just paint for us a picture of how big a deal that was.
I can't imagine, because when I went over it was difficult. When she went over it was even more difficult. And she did the most amazing things. I was very proud to be narrating it for her, but I was astounded by the quality of who she was as a person and of her voice. She was a very stunning person. If she were here today, she'd be celebrated so much, but internet wasn't there. And so this is why we've lost her. But thank goodness she's the little village and the people who have loved her have brought her back to life, which is really so encouraging.
Tell me a little bit about her voice and what people loved so much about it.
Well, I mean, even from the age of 10, she was singing extremely well. The voice, when you hear it, of course, older recordings, you have to imagine how good it really was. But you can detect the quality of the voice, the quality of her, the strength of her. And this absolutely the focus of how she went to Paris and how she studied in Paris, and the glory of the voice. It was a big voice. If it was here today, we would really jump on it, because it was such a stunning voice. And the character of her, the personality, everything, and the strength of being able to cope with polio, singing from a wheelchair. I mean, just amazing. And I've looked at the documentary several times now, just to sort of recall how really wonderful she was. And I think it's sort of something about the Australian bodies, the way they build them or wherever they come from. They've got incredible strength. Also, we followed her path. I mean, in 1966, I went over. She went over in the 1920s, and I followed her in almost the same path, which she laid out for us, but we didn't know. It was amazing.
Yeah, and look, you mentioned the polio. So here she is, this woman who has performed in Paris. She's been sought after to perform in New York. She finally makes the decision to go there. When she's at the peak of her success, she contracts polio and ends up in a wheelchair, and then still manages to go on performing. I mean, that blows me away. How did she do it?
Well, she just had this incredible strength. There are some people who would fall to pieces and go into depression, but she just went the opposite way, and it almost like she was turbocharged. She was never going to give in. And also, she had this wonderful husband and also great treatment, and she was able to survive it very well. The thing is, I looked up, how do you get polio? And it's either something about food, tainted food, or it's a virus, or I just was trying to figure out how at her age did she get it? Although there was no vaccinations, I suppose, at that time. But she was very unlucky, I think, to get it. But she used it in such an amazing way. And of course, she only died at age 72, which I'm 77. So she had a wonderful long career, but it'd be lovely for her to have lived a little bit longer. And so we could have celebrated her even more.
Dame Kiri, just before you go, I want to ask how you're going. What are you up to these days? We don't get the opportunity to chat to you very often.
Well, I have a Kiri Te Kanawa Foundation. We're supporting young singers. All our singers we've been supporting through the COVID time. We were giving them monthly payments to survive. They were really running out of money. And now they're all back in work. Some are in Bern, in Frankfurt, Munich, at Covent Garden. So they're all now starting off together. And one in particular, he's just making up programs and putting them in places, and he's singing the programs. So like Julian van Millets in particular, he has just been so innovative and creating new programs and new venues and new things to deal with. So they're really sort of going for everything they can at the moment while everything is opened up. As I'm listening to your news, it sounds really sad. We're here. New Zealand's not going to escape, I'm afraid. Yeah. We will get that virus back here.
Dame Kiri, we are all hoping for a better 2022. Thank you so much for talking to us about Marjorie Lawrence.
Thank you very much. Thank you for asking me. Thank you.